Once upon a time, in the bustling city of Lagos, Nigeria, there lived a bright and cheerful young girl called Teni. Teni was only 9 years old. She loved to laugh, play, and tell stories. Her favorite thing in the world was spending time with her parents and friends. Teni's family lived in a small, cozy apartment in a busy neighborhood filled with the sounds of cars, motorcycles, and people going about their daily lives. Teni was known all over the neighborhood as the little girl with the biggest smile and the kindest heart. She was always helping others, whether it was carrying groceries from old woman who lived next door or sharing her lunch with a friend at school who had forgotten theirs. But one day, something strange happened. It was a regular evening, and Teni was playing outside with her friends. They were all laughing and chasing each other around as they usually did. As the sun began to set, Teni suddenly stopped playing. Her eyes grew wide and she looked up at the sky. Without saying a word, she turned and walked back home. Her friends called after her, but Teni didn't respond. It was as if she couldn't hear them at all. When she got home, she went straight to her room and lay down on her bed. Her mother, Mrs. Ade, noticed this and went to check on her. "Teni, are you feeling okay?" her mother asked, gently touching her forehead to check for a fever. But Teni didn't answer. She lay there, completely still, with her eyes closed. It was as if she had fallen into a deep sleep, but something about it didn't seem right. Her breathing was shallow, and she didn't respond when her mother tried to wake her up. Worried, Mrs. Ade called her husband, Mr. Ade, who was at work. He rushed home and immediately took Teni to the hospital. The doctors examined her, but they couldn't find anything wrong. She wasn't sick, and all her tests came back normal. But no matter what they tried, they couldn't wake her up. As the night went on, Teni remained in her strange, lifeless state. Her parents were beside themselves with worry. They stayed by her side, praying and hoping she would wake up. Then, just the first light of dawn appeared in the sky. Something miraculous happened. Teni's eye fluttered open, and she sat up in the bed as if nothing had happened. She looked around at her parents and smiled. "Good morning, Mama. Good morning, Papa," she said, as if she had just woken up from a regular night's sleep. Her parents were overjoyed to see her awake, but they were also confused. "Teni, do you remember what happened last night?" her father asked. Teni shook her head. "No, Papa. I just remember playing with my friends, and then I came back home to sleep." Her parents exchanged worried glances, but they didn't want to scare her. They decided to keep an eye on her and see if it happened again. The next day was normal. Teni went to school, played with her friends, and did all the things she usually did. But as the sun began to set that evening, the same thing happened. Teni's smile faded and she became quiet. She walked home, went to her room, and lay down on her bed. Once again, she fell into that strange and lifeless state. This time, Her parents were prepared. They stayed by her side all night, watching over her. And just like the night before, Teni woke up at dawn, as if nothing happened. The same pattern continued night after night. Teni would be full of life during the day, but as soon as the sun began to set, she would become quiet and lifeless. Her parents were desperate to find out what was happening to their daughter. They took her to different hospitals, consulted doctors, traditional healers, and even spiritual leaders, but no one could explain what was happening. Word of Teni's condition spread throughout the neighborhood, and soon everyone knew about the little girl who went lifeless every night. Some people were curious, while others were scared. Rumors began to spread, and some people even started avoiding the family, thinking that Teni was cursed. But her parents refused to give up. They knew their daughter was special, and they were determined to find out what was wrong. One day, Mr. Ade came across an old professor named Professor Ajayi. He was a retired scientist who had spent all his life studying rare and unusual conditions. Mr. Ade explained Teni's situation to him, and the professor agreed to come and see her. When Professor Ajayi met Teni, he was immediately struck by her bright spirit and kind nature. He spent hours talking to her, observing her during the day, and then staying with the family at night to see what happened. After several nights of observation, Professor Ajayi had an idea. He asked Mr. and Mrs. Ade if they had ever noticed anything unusual about Teni before this started happening. They thought for a while and then remembered a few weeks before. Teni had found a strange, shining stone while playing outside, and she had brought it home and kept it in her room as a treasure. The professor examined the stone carefully. He had never seen anything like it before. He asked if he could take the stone to his lab for further study, and Teni agreed. For the next few days, Professor Ajayi worked tirelessly in his lab, studying the stone. He ran tests and examined it under different lights, trying to understand its properties. Finally, he made a breakthrough. The stone, it turned out, was not an ordinary stone. It was a rare ancient artifact that had been buried deep in the earth for centuries. The stone had absorbed energy from the sun over the years, and it had the power to control the life force of anyone who came into contact with it. During the day, the stone would absorb sunlight and store it, but at night, it would release this energy in a way that caused Teni's body to shut down temporarily. The stone was draining her life force every night and then returning it at dawn. The professor explained these findings to Teni's parents. "This stone is very powerful," he said. "It's affecting Teni's body in a way that no one could have predicted. The only way to stop this from happening is to get rid of the stone." "But how can we get rid of it?" Mrs. Ade asked, worried. "We can return it to the earth," the professor replied. We need to find the place where the stone can be buried deep so its energy won't affect anyone else. The next day, the professor, Mr. Ade, and Teni set out on a journey to find the right place to bury the stone. They traveled to a remote area outside the city where the land was untouched by human hands. The professor had a specific location in mind, a deep forest where the ground was thick and the trees were tall. As they walked through the forest, Teni held the stone in her hands. She could feel its warmth and she knew it was time to say goodbye. Although she was a little sad, she understood that it was only the way to stop the strange things that was happening to her. Finally, they reached a clearing in the forest. The professor found a spot where the ground was soft and began digging a hole. When the hole was deep enough, he nodded to Teni. "It's time, Teni," he said gently. Teni stepped forward and carefully placed the stone into the hole. As soon as the stone touched the earth, the glow inside began to fade. The professor quickly covered the hole with a soil, and they all stood back, watching as the ground settled. For a moment, everything was silent. Then a soft breeze blew through the trees, and Teni felt a weight lift off her shoulders. She knew that the stone was gone, and she was free. After they returned to Lagos, life slowly went back to normal. Teni no longer fell into a lifeless state at night. She was once again the bright, cheerful girl everyone knew and loved. Teni's parents were overjoyed to have their daughter back. They thanked the professor for his help and wisdom. The professor in turn praised Teni for her bravery and understanding. "Teni, you are a very special girl," he said. "Not everyone could have handled this situation as well as you did. You showed great strength and courage." Teni smiled at the professor. "Thank you, Professor Ajayi. I'm just happy that everything is okay now." As Teni grew older, she never forgot the lessons she learned from her experience. She continued to be curious about the world and loved learning new things. She knew that science and knowledge were powerful tools that could help solve even the most mysterious problems. She also learned that sometimes things that seem strange or scary could be understood if we take the time to study and learn them. The experience with the stone taught her the value of patience, courage, and the importance of asking for help when we need it. The people of our neighborhood also learned from Teni's story. They realized that not everything can be explained by fear or superstition. Sometimes it takes a wise mind and a kind heart to uncover the truth. And sometimes the answers are closer than we think.